My name is Daryl, and welcome to Expert Rope Magic Made Easy, Volume 2. I'd like to start off with some multiple knots. This first thing is called the double knot. It's just a quick and easy way of tying 2 knots in a piece of rope. All you do is you drape the rope over the hand like this. Just reach through, grab an end, and almost as if by magic, you've got a quick double knot. Now, this is actually very simple to do. When you drape the rope over the back of your hand, just make sure that the middle, this part, is in the front of the hand and the ends are in the back. When you reach through with your other hand, the right hand, just clip the 2 ends, bring them towards yourself through like this, reach up, grab one end between the first and second finger of the left hand. Then when everything falls off of the left hand, you'll end up with a double knot. And that is called the double knot. This is the double ring ceremony. It's another way of tying 2 knots almost instantly, like this. Not only do you get 2 knots, but believe it or not, if you take 2 borrowed finger rings, you can, in theory, get the knots to tie around the rings. This is how it's done. You put 1 ring on each end. You grab the 2 ends with the left hand. You grab the middle with the right hand, and you form like a hitch knot, a double loop. You reach inside, grab one end, pull it through, and as it pulls through, you get this. Now, let me try to explain this from the back side. It's a lot easier to follow. Watch closely. The rope is held like this. 1 ring is placed on each end, like that, and both ends are held in the left hand, thumb and first finger. You grab the middle of the rope in the right hand. With the first finger and thumb inside, you pinch a double loop. Now, this is important. The index finger of the right hand comes out, goes around towards you, then into the loop, and it grabs the right end. As the right end is pulled through, that forms 1 knot, and the second knot is formed as the loop comes off the left wrist. So this is the double ring ceremony. A little mystery called triple knots. Start off with a lovely piece of rope, just a little touch, and instantly 3 knots appear. Well, actually, 3 knots didn't appear. 2 knots were there from the very beginning. They were just hidden by the hands. And to create the 3rd knot, you tied the instantaneous knot. What happens is 1 end is pointing downward, 1 end is pointing upward. Like this, the hands come together. You clip the end in the right hand with the left first and second finger. You clip the end in the left hand with the right first and second finger, like this and like this. If you let go with the thumbs, separate the hands, that will form an instantaneous knot. So that's how to tie the single knot in the middle. Of course, the other 2 knots were there from the very beginning, just concealed behind the fingers. So it looks like you have just an ordinary piece of rope. By bringing the hands together and tying the instantaneous knot and revealing the 2 secretly hidden knots on the ends, you have a triple knot. Now, for the next mystery, you'll need to prepare in advance by tying a couple of slip knots. Just for sake of completeness, let me go through this again. Here's how to tie a slip knot. You make a loop in the rope going away from your body. That would be toward the audience, like this. With your left hand, you hold where the ropes cross, and you let the end fall forward. That is, away from you. If you reach in through the loop, grab the end and pull it towards you through the loop, like this, the tip of the left thumb could actually push a little bite of the rope through the loop as you tighten, like this. That is a slip knot. A little mystery called 3 knots in a rope. Start off with a lovely piece like this. Just bring the hands together, and instantly you have 3 knots. Now, the first knot, all you have to do is give a little blow, and it vanishes. To prove that they are real knots and not those fake magician's phony, tricky knots, this one I'll very slowly untie for you so you can see it's the genuine article. Now, this last knot, I'll try something even more special. Just a little squeeze like this, and there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 knots in a rope. Now, this is very similar to the other trick where you have 2 knots near the ends and they're secretly concealed in the hands. The only difference here is you tie slip knots. So the secret preparation, about 12 inches or so from one end, you tie a slip knot, like that. You do the exact same thing near the other end, a second slip knot, like this. This knot you have hidden in your right hand. Now you have one knot hidden in the right hand. The slip knot is also hidden in the right hand, and the end of the rope goes over the back of the hand, as opposed to in the left hand, the end of the rope goes in front of the hand. So this is how you begin. You bring the hands together, you tie the instantaneous knot by clipping the right piece of rope between the first and second finger of the left hand. You clip the left piece of rope between the first and second finger of the right hand. Like this, when you separate the hands, that forms one knot in the middle at the same time you bring these other two knots into view. So it looks like you instantly make 3 knots. Now remember the 2 knots on the ends? Those are slip knots. So you can take the first knot just by blowing and pulling, the knot disappears. In case the audience thinks, oh, maybe that was a phony slip knot, you take the second knot, the one in the middle, and you very slowly and fairly untie it to prove it is a real knot. Now remember, all this time you still have this extra knot hidden in the right hand. The third knot, which is also a slip knot, remember, you can show it like this. You hide it or cover it with the hand. You just dissolve the slip knot and show the extra knot. And that's Milbourne Christopher's 3 knots in a rope. I'd like to talk a little bit now about ring and rope magic. There's lots of different types of rings that can be used, but right now I'd like to just talk about small rings. Small meaning like finger ring size. You can use your own ring if you have a special type of ring, or it's also a good idea to borrow the finger ring from a volunteer from the audience, like a wedding band, something like that. Also, you can use bracelets. This is a flexible wire bracelet, which is pretty good, but usually for ring and rope magic, you want the ring or the bracelet to be solid. The more heavy or the more solid, the better. These are curtain rings, not shower curtains for the bathtub shower, but like drapes for the living room. Solid curtain rings are very easy to paint. They come in wood and plastic. This is a bracelet that you can buy in a cheap jewelry store, but my personal favorite is this. This is very heavy. It's very solid. This is a harness ring. Now you can find this in places that sell things for like riding horses, that type of thing. So these are a few of the rings that you can use for ring and rope magic tricks. This is a very simple mystery that you can do anytime, any place. You can borrow a shoestring, or you can carry your own magic rope if you'd like, and borrow the finger ring. All you do is this. The ring actually does go onto the rope. There's no doubt about it. In fact, it's a good idea to get helpers from the audience to assist. You say, here, would you hold on to that end? And then this end you hand to somebody over on this side. You say, hold on very tightly. Don't let go. Good. You rub the ring on the rope like this, a little snap, a little magic, and believe it or not, the ring will actually penetrate right through, leaving no clue to the secret. Now this is very subtle. All you have to do is secretly, under cover of misdirection, slide the ring off one end of the rope. Let me do that again. It goes on. It actually does start on the middle of the rope, and you cover it with your left hand, just like this. Now here's a little tip. Try to get the ring over to your little finger side, like that. This way, when you hand the first end to a spectator on your right, that's the misdirection. They're busy looking over there. Now, as you reach across to hand the left end of the rope to somebody on your left side, the little finger secretly drops the ring into your right hand. So I just dropped it like this. You continue. You hand this end to somebody on that side, and the ring has secretly been slid off the end. So you give a little rub like this, a little massage, and boom, you have the penetration of the finger ring through the rope. This mystery is the Hindu ring on the rope. You borrow the finger ring, that's important. Any piece of rope will work, and a borrowed handkerchief. Now the idea is to get the ring onto the middle of the rope without using the ends. Now it is a very secret process, so I will have to do this undercover. Just make sure that the ends do not leave your sight. All right, I'll reach under here. I'll do a little something like this, a little something like that. Then twist this counterclockwise. Oh, instead of clockwise, counterclockwise. That's much better. And the ring is now on the middle of the rope. Now the ends never left your sight, but yet, hoop, if you look closely, you'll see, yep, there it is, the ring on the middle. Oh, don't let that knot disturb you. It's just there for my own amusement. Now this is a little trick invented by Stuart James. And it can also be done with a safety pin, but it's a lot more complicated. This uses no gimmicks at all, just a borrowed finger ring, piece of rope, and a borrowed handkerchief. Well, since I'm going to explain how it's done, I don't suppose I'll be needing the handkerchief. Oh yes, I will, for the very end. Here's what you do. Under cover of the handkerchief, you take a small bite of the rope, you place it through the middle of the ring like this. That's the first thing you have to do. Then you're going to tie a slip knot using this bite of rope and one end or one piece on the right side. You make a loop all the way across, and now you tie a little bow knot by pinching in another little bite of rope. So that's basically a slip knot tied around the bite that went through the ring. Okay, now still the ring is technically not on the rope. Here's where the subtlety comes in. You open this part up a little bit, like this. Now remember, all of this is done under cover of the handkerchief. Okay? Now, secretly, when you pull the rope, you're going to hold your finger here so that when you pull the rope, the end actually does go through, and you end up like that. Now let me do this again at regular speed so you can see exactly what happens. There's the ring, there's the rope, and this time I'll do it under cover. Now what I'm doing here is I'm taking the middle of the rope, putting it through the ring. I've just done that. Then you tie the slip knot like this, and tie the slip knot as tightly as you can get it. That's a good tip. If you don't, then when you pull the rope through, the slip knot could come undone, and that would give away the trick. So you tie a pretty tight slip knot. Under cover, you open it up like this. That's important. And here's a subtlety. Your thumb or your finger, you just put it right through that loop, like this. So that way when you pull this, watch what happens. You pull the rope, whoosh, and this is actually going through the ring. You come up like this, you show it, and you have the penetration. So this is Stuart James' Hindu ring on the rope. This is called lefty. Just a piece of rope and a harness ring or a bracelet. Doesn't matter exactly what you use, but it should be about that size. It's not really a magic trick as much as it is a very quick and easy way to get the ring onto the rope. That's all there is to it. Now here's what you do. You show the ring, you put it over your left thumb, like this. You take the middle of the rope, clip it between the first two fingers like this, first and second finger of the left hand, and then you drape it over the thumb like that. Now all you have to do is grab the ring with your right hand, bring it up towards the thumb and down, and instantly it will become linked onto the rope. Just a quick, easy way to get a bracelet-sized ring onto the rope called lefty. Here's a mystery known as the Zella ring on rope. It uses just a single solid piece of rope, and I will tie the ends together with a genuine double knot, just to make sure there's no cheating. Good strong loop, that's about right. And you take a ring, any kind of ring, a bracelet, this happens to be a curtain ring. All you do is place it like this, get the middle like this, a little blow, and look, boom, it's linked on. It comes off just as easily. All you do is you put it like this, take the middles, and give a little squeeze like this, and it comes right off. Now, it not only works with one ring, you can do it just as easily with 2 or 3 or even 4 or 5 rings. You put it like this, take the ends, give it a little squeeze. 1, 2, 3. The Zella rings on rope. Now, here's a nice little cleanup. Just go like this to get the rings off. Into the hat of mystery. And now you can toss this out for examination. Now, this is a very interesting little mystery. All you need is an extra piece of rope. Oh, say about that long. Now the setup is you just hold one end of the little piece with one end of the long piece in your left hand, like that, and you're all ready for action. Here's what you do. When you tie the ends together, you're going to do a secret switch. So you have one end in the right hand, the end in the left hand, the short piece crosses over. Okay? In fact, I have an idea. Here's an easier way to show this. Watch. It looks like just one solid piece of rope, but you've got the little secret piece in the left hand. You cross that over the right. You hold with your right thumb where they cross. Now watch that white end there. That's one end of the long piece that goes into the left hand. The other end of the short piece comes out. So all you've done is you've secretly switched. So it looks like you're just tying the ends together into a circle, but what you've really done is you've tied the short piece around the long piece. Now you have, in a sense, a key rope. Now let me do this once again at regular speed. It looks like just one solid piece of rope. It looks like you take the ends and you just tie them together to form a loop what you've secretly done is you switched in that little piece. Okay? Now you take the ring, like this. All you do is you place it right over your index finger that happens to have a piece of rope draped across like this. As you reach down to the opposite side of the rope, the thumb goes inside and pulls the ring through the little opening. A little magic here, and it looks like it links on. You do the exact same thing to get it off. There's the ring, there's the secret opening. You take the ring, place it over here, the thumb goes in. As you reach down here for misdirection, a little bit of magic, a little rub, you've actually pushed it through, and it looks like it comes right off. Now you can do this exactly the same way with 2 or 3 rings. One of the reasons for using more than one ring is after you do the penetration where they all go on, this is a very subtle way to get rid of the extra little piece, like this. They're all linked. When you untie the knot, you do the same thing you did to tie the knot in the first place, but in reverse. You're going to switch that little piece back out. You start to untie, and watch what happens. Remember these 2 pieces held together in the left hand. You take one end of the short piece, that's the red end, it goes into the left hand. One end of the long piece, that's the white end, comes out. Now when you separate your hands, it looks like you just untied the loop. To get rid of this little piece, you literally place it right inside the hat, and you allow the rings to drop in at the same time. That gets rid of the short piece. Now you can hand this length out for complete examination, and that is the Zella ring-on rope. Here is an additional ending for the Zella ring-on rope. You have the ring, it goes inside the hat. You have the rope, which can be examined, remember, at this point. And all you do is you leave the ends in full view. You just take the middle, place the middle inside the hat, and with a little manipulation, like this, oh, you've got the ring right on like that. Now, to make sure it comes off, you can cut just like that. No question about it. That was on, now it's off. And that puts you in a perfect position for a quick little cut and restored rope routine as well. So that's another way to finish the Zella ring-on rope. As you'll recall, when you finish the Zella ring-on rope, you end up with a small piece of rope inside the hat. Remember that? You had the rings, you dropped the little extra piece as the rings went into the hat, so you have a small piece of rope secretly in the hat. You take the ring, you place it into the hat, but as you place it into the hat, you actually pull the small piece of rope through it, like this. Now the audience, of course, doesn't know about that. Now you show this rope, you get the middle of the rope like this, keeping the ends in full view. What you do is you reach into the hat with the middle of the rope, and as you do that, you just pick up the 2 ends of the small piece that's already looped around the ring, and when you come out, it looks like the ring penetrates onto the rope. But of course, that's just the small piece like that. Now you're in perfect position to do a quick cut and restored rope. You just cut the little piece. The ring, of course, falls into the hat. You get rid of those little pieces, any one of a number of ways like this, and you do your restoration. So that's another ending for the Zella ring-on rope. This is a cute little opener. If you bring out a piece of rope and it's not quite as long as you need it to be, all you do is take it like this, give a little squeeze, a little shake, a little pull, and you can actually stretch the rope until it's considerably longer. In fact, that's just about how long it needs to be for the next demonstration. Now, this is a very simple thing to do. It's called stretching a rope, and you can use a smaller piece like this, and the preparation is to fold a little bite or a little Z shape, a little pleat of rope in each hand. This is exactly the same handling in the stretching handkerchief. You just have a little extra piece in each hand. So when you pull, you just bring it out of your hand a little bit at a time, and that gives a nice little illusion of the stretching rope. Now, this rope is relatively thick, pretty solid. If you did this with a thinner piece of rope, like yarn or something that doesn't take up a lot of room, you could actually start by having several pleats of rope, as much as you can possibly hide in your hand. Now, this rope is pretty thick as well, but it gives you the idea. You start with a piece of rope, say this long, and you pull, and a little bit at a time, you bring it out of your hands. It looks good because the ends stay in full view, so the ends are not going into your hands, but you can stretch, 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 until it's as long as it needs to be. And with this particular method, you could, of course, do it with your sleeves rolled up, because it's all in the hands. Here is a classic of rope magic called the bachelor's needle. The bachelor's needle. Take a piece of rope about this long, use your imagination, by the way, and pretend that this is the eye of the needle, right there. That's the eye. Here's a piece of thread. The idea is to thread the needle by putting the end right through the eye of the needle like this and out the other side. That's what it looks like when the needle has been threaded, but that's pretty big, so I'm going to make the eye a little bit smaller. That makes it more difficult for me. Here's the thread. On the count of 3, right through, hop, there we go, right through the eye of the needle. In fact, you can make this even more difficult by tying a knot in the end of the thread. That actually makes it much more difficult because now the thread is big, and to make it even more difficult, I'm going to make the eye of the needle even smaller. That's not very big, but still, at the count of 3, I'm going to push this right through. It's going to thread itself right through the eye of the needle. Watch closely. 1, 2, 3. Hop! Look at that. Right through the eye of the needle. Now this is a classic, like I say, of rope magic. All you have to do is this. You start by having about that much here. You wrap it around the thumb towards yourself. That's important. And the last little piece goes up. Now here's what's going to happen. You don't actually thread it through. That's what it looks like, but that's not actually what happens. What happens is you start to thread it through, you loosen up your grip, and you pull. This goes underneath, and it goes through that way. Does that make sense? All right. Now you can make the eye of the needle very, very small. In fact, you can make a knot on the end of the thread. It doesn't make any difference because it's actually not going through. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, on 3, you just release the pressure here. This goes like this, that goes like that, and it looks like it goes right through. So let me do it one more time at regular speed. Say there's the knot at the end of the thread. I'll make the eye of the needle, but I won't make it big. That's too easy. I'll make it very, very small. Yeah, that's about right. 1, 2, 3. And there you have it. The amazing classic known as the bachelor's needle. A lovely little mystery called Here Spot. Take a piece of rope, you get the middle, that's about the middle, and I'll make a little slip knot. That's not the mystery, by the way. That's just a slip knot. And if I do this right, I could actually take the slip knot, give it a little squeeze and a blow, and it comes right off. Here Spot. Now there is secret preparation involved. You just take a small piece of rope, glue the ends together, making a ring, and the ring is actually slipped onto the middle of a medium-sized piece of rope like this. And this is all hidden in the hand. Now here's what you do. You actually do tie a slip knot, but you tie it while keeping that little loop concealed in the hand. You grab the middle, you give it a little twist, reach through the middle and grab a piece of the rope through and pull. That's the slip knot. Now you tighten it up just a little bit. Now what you're going to do is switch this slip knot for this here. You just put this in your hand, you pull on one end, and that closes up the slip knot so the audience doesn't really see that anymore, and you've got this. Now that's just the loop. And when you pull, that loop will actually come right off because the slip knot will dissolve. And that's the mystery called Here Spot. Does this look to you like an ordinary piece of rope? I hope the answer is yes. It should look like a regular piece of rope, but actually this is very special. This rope is held together with what we call in the business a rope gimmick. Ooh, look. It comes apart. It goes back together. Now there are several different types of rope gimmicks. This is just one. This is one of the newer versions of the rope gimmick. Let me show you some of the original methods used many, many years ago. In fact, Harlan Tarbell used to do this with his Tarbell rope cut. These are snap fasteners. What you do is you get a piece of rope, you put a little glue on the end, you take a snap fastener and you sew it on with like a needle and thread, and then if necessary you can paint with a flat white paint, and that helps conceal the fact that you've got a snap fastener on the ends of your rope. Another method, this is like a Tarbell rope gimmick. These you can find in finer magic shops everywhere. What this is two pieces of machined metal that will actually, they're threaded so that you can screw them together. So the same idea as the snap fasteners, you take a little piece of the core out of the rope, you take a Tarbell rope gimmick, slip it inside, glue it in, and then paint it white. You do the same thing with the other piece. So now you've got two gimmicks that go together with a little half twist. They will stay together very securely. Another half twist in the opposite direction, and they come apart. Now one of the newer versions of the rope gimmick are these. These are magnets. These are just ordinary cylindrical magnets. And E.J. Moore, I believe, was the first to do this. The same as before, you hollow out the rope, you slip the magnet inside, you glue it in, and you paint it white. In fact, that's exactly what I have here. This is a magnetic rope, just two pieces held together with a magnet. That is a few of the versions of the rope gimmicks. This is called two at a time. It's a quick, easy way to tie two knots in one piece of rope. All you do is you drape them over the back of the wrists like this, a little twist like that, a little grab and a pull, and there you have it, two at a time. Now this is actually very easy to do. All you have to do is this. You take the rope and you put it over the back of your wrists like that. The hands begin palm up. You bring them upward, around, and down, and you let the ends sort of fall off the wrists like this. Grab the ends, whoop, and you pull them through. Two knots, two at a time. Hindu knots. Just a piece of rope, sort of coil it up a few times like this, a little snap, and whoosh, Hindu knots. What you do for this is very simple, just like most of this stuff, very simple. You hold the rope in your left hand. When you coil the rope, that's when you do the secret move. You don't actually just make a regular coil like that. What you do is you grab it with your right hand, and when you make the first loop, first part of the coil, you give it a twist like this. Oh, by the way, here's a little tip. Hold one end between the first two fingers of the left hand like this. That's a good way to start. When you make the first loop, the middle finger goes behind, clip, and you turn it around as you put it in the left hand. So you do that 3 times, or actually you can do this as many times as you'd like, depending on how long the rope is. So that one end went all the way through all 3 loops. You transfer it to the other hand. You just grab a hold of this end, and you hold on to that end. And when you drop, you let everything else fall, and that will give you 3 knots. Now, you don't actually have to transfer the rope to the other hand. You could, if you pay attention to what you're doing, you can clip one end like this, make the loops, 1, 2, 3, and pay attention to that end. You can thumb palm it in your left hand. That way, like I say, you don't have to transfer it, and you just hang on to that end as you drop, and you once again get your Hindu knots. This is called name a number. You just take a piece of rope like this, sort of coil it into your hand a few times, say 2 or 3 times, doesn't really matter, and you have anyone in the audience name any number between, say, 1 and 4. How about you, sir? Any number from 1 to 4? 2. Watch closely. A little blow, and hop, instantly 2 knots appear. Needs work. It's okay. I'm a magician. All I have to do is take this knot, give a little squeeze, and it vanishes like the fading of a mirage. Once again, leaving you with a chosen number of knots. In this case, 2. Now, this is a fun trick. It's the same as the Hindu knots. There is one slight difference, is before you start, you tie a slip knot near one end. Okay? Not exactly near one end, maybe 10 or 12 inches from one end. So here's the slip knot. You make the loop, you pass it through, push the tip of the thumb into, like that, making the bite. Now that you hide in your left hand. Now, like the Hindu knots I explained just a moment ago, you make 2 loops, and only 2 loops. Then you take the end and you clip it like this. Now, if I was to throw the rope off my hand, keeping this end clipped, of course, I would have the 2 knots that were formed with the Hindu knot and the 3rd knot, which is the slip knot. So you say, name a number between 1 and 4. Well, if they name a number between 1 and 4, the only choices are 2 and 3. If they say 3, everything's fine. You hold on to the clipped end, you drop, and you've got 3, the chosen number. If they say 2, you do the exact same thing. You end up with 3, and you say, there we have it, 2 knots. Whoops, you made a mistake. It's okay. You take the slip knot, and you magically dissolve it, and now you end up with a piece of rope with only 2 knots, and you can hand this out for examination. That is called name a number of knots. Here's an impromptu routine you can do anytime, any place. All you need, 2 opera hats. No, you don't have to use opera hats, bowls, paper bags, anything will work. Any kind of receptacle. Empty, by the way, no advanced preparation, and 2 pieces of ordinary rope. Now, this first one, we'll just sort of coil it up, place it in hat A, and I'll leave the end sticking out like this. Now, we leave this to show that there are no knots in hat A. Hat B, on the other hand, what I'll do is I will tie a few knots like this. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll show you this method. Here's a good way. I'll tie the knots as if by magic. Ho! Look at that. Isn't magic wonderful? 3 knots, and these are real knots. In fact, I'll open them up just a little bit that you can see. Nice, solid, overhand knots. No question about it. Now I'm going to place these in hat B. That's got the knot in front of it. That's to remind you that this rope has the knots. This one does not. But this rope, in sympathy, because that has knots, by magic, it becomes knotted as well. Oh! Now, if I untie the knots here, place them back into the hat, so now this one is unknotted. This one, in sympathy, now becomes unknotted as well. And everything can be handed out for examination. There are absolutely no gimmicks involved at all. This is called the sympathetic ropes. Now, most of this you've learned already. The first thing was the Hindu knots. Remember, if you make the loops, coiling the rope as you do this, and having one end between the first and second finger like this, all you have to do is pull on that one end, and when you do that, you will end up with 2 or 3 knots depending on how many coils you made. So that's what you need to do. You start off by showing one piece of rope. You make the coils, 2 or 3 coils like this. When you place it in the hat, just make sure that this end sticks out over the end like that. Then when you tie the knots in the second piece of rope, you do basically the same thing, but in reverse. You clip onto one end like this. As you open, you can show that the knots are real. Remember, you're clipping the end between the first 2 fingers. Actually, it goes inside. So if I was to pull on that right now, that would dissolve the knot. As you open the second knot, you do exactly the same thing. You show that it's real. Place it in the left hand. The end goes through that as well. Exactly the same with the third knot. You open up the knot, show that it's real, place it in the left hand. If I pull this through, all 3 knots will dissolve. Place it in the hat, and you say, this is the one that has the knots. There's the knot. This one does not have the knots. You do the magic. You show in sympathy. Now, when you pull this out, because you did the Hindu knots coiling, it shows that there are 3 knots in this rope. Now, you can very slowly and fairly untie these knots. And once again, in sympathy, because these are untied, you go over here, and you show that these are untied as well. And that is called the sympathetic knots. This is Pavel's rope circles. Very simple mystery using just 3 pieces of rope. Nice, strong, solid, separate pieces of rope. And I'll do this very, very slowly. I'll just tie the ropes in 2 rings with a real live, genuine overhand knot into a square knot like this. That's ring number 1. Here's ring number 2, exactly the same way. Just tie them like this with a square knot. And that leaves us with ring number 3. So that's 1, 2, 3 solid rings with solid pieces of rope. Watch very closely. 1, 2, 3. Just a little blow. Hup! And there you have it. Pavel's circle of rope. Now this is actually very easy to do. It's a very subtle thing. To make it a lot easier to follow, I think it might be a good idea if I explain this using 3 different colored pieces of rope. Because all you do is you actually, right in front of the audience, you tie the ropes into 1 complete circle of rope. I'll show you what I mean. 3 different colors, but of course in real live performance, make sure that all 3 ropes are exactly the same color, otherwise it gives away the secret. Here's what you do. Rope number 1, rope number 2, and as you show rope number 3, you actually place the end of rope number 3 between the ends of rope number 1 and number 2. So in this case, the red one goes between the white and the blue. And you draw your hand through to the opposite end of rope number 3. Now this is end of rope number 3. In the left hand, you still have the end of rope number 2 pointing upward. And these are the 2 ends that you tie together. So you're actually tying the end of number 3 to the end of number 2. But to the audience, it should look like you're just tying the 2 ends of the same piece, making a circle of rope. Okay? So that's the first one. You drape it over the thumb, get that out of the way. Now you reach down and you take the 1 piece of rope that's furthest to your left. In this case, it's the blue piece. You tie that onto one end of the red piece. So that's the second loop. It looks like you're tying a second loop, but actually now you're doing the same thing you did it the first time. You're tying rope number 1 to rope number 2 and rope number 2 to rope number 3. So here you go, the last one. It looks like you're making a third and final loop. And there you have it. Now from the front, especially when all 3 ropes are the same color, it will look exactly as if you've got just 3 solid separate rings of rope. You blow, you let everything fall, except for 1 piece on top. You hold both the left and the right side of the knot on top, and there you have a complete circle of rope. and that is Pavel's circle of rope. 1, 2, 3 solid pieces of rope. I'll do this very slowly and fairly. Just tie the ends together to make a loop. That's loop number 1. Loop number 2 is done in exactly the same way. And of course, loop number 3. Watch closely. 3 loops of rope tied together with real square knots. That's right. All I have to do is take the 2 loops like this, little squeeze, turn this to the inside, to the outside, give a little squeeze like this, and it melts right through. Exactly the same way as before. You take the middle of the rope like this very slowly. It goes through like this, a little snap, and we have a chain of 3. All you have to do is do the whole thing backwards, turn the inside to the outside, and of course vice versa. And this comes free, and exactly the same as before. 2, just a little magic like this, a little shake, a little snap, and you have 3 separate loops of rope. Now this is the classic linking ring routine done with loops of rope. And the secret behind this is a key ring, which is the key rope right here. Now it probably looks like just a regular ring, but actually it's magnetic. So you've got the secret magnet gimmick. Now let me go through the whole handling from the very beginning, but just to make it a little easier to follow, we'll use 3 different colored pieces. Okay? Now the white one will be the key rope, the magnetic rope. Now you start with the ropes untied, and you have the magnet about, say, 10 to 12 inches on one end, and the other end like this, and you just hide that in your left hand. That's how you start. You have the other 2 ropes in the hand as well, and the other 2 you tie first. So first I'll tie the red rope, making a nice loop, and you drape that over your right arm. In fact, I'll do it this way, make it a little easier to follow. You tie it together, you drape it over the right arm. You tie the next rope exactly the same way, just a square knot. Right over left, left over right. That's the second one. Now the third one, you need to be a little bit careful. You have to be careful handling this rope. You don't want it to come apart. So, very gingerly, you tie the rope into a loop like this. Now there are several methods for opening and closing the key rope. The method explained in Tarbell is to clip it like this between your first 2 fingers and the lower 2 fingers and the thumb. So you can open and close it. Personally, I prefer to hold it like this, and with one hand you can open it and close it. So that's the method I'm going to explain right now. You have the 2 pieces of rope, the 2 loops. The key rope is in the left hand. The magnet is hidden behind the fingers. The regular loop in the right hand, all you do is you bring the hands together. Watch what happens. You drape the right loop over the left loop, right by the magnet, and the index finger, this is important, you drape it, the index finger moves the rope up, the thumb goes underneath. This way, you can clip it, open it with one hand, let the rope pass through, and then close it with the same hand. It's a very fast handling, and you have the first penetration. Okay, do the exact same thing again. Take the second piece, cross it over like this. Remember, the left thumb goes in, grabs it. It's basically thumb palming the rope, opening up the key, letting the rope pass through, and closing the key. And now you have the second penetration. So that's how you link the ropes together. You do the same thing in reverse to unlink them. You just bring it up, put the thumb here, open it, let the rope pass through, and close it. So the first one comes off, and in exactly the same way, you unlink the last 2 pieces like this. It drapes over the top. The thumb goes underneath. You thumb clip the rope, open it, pass the rope through, close it, and now you've got your 3 solid separate loops of rope. And that is a very basic handling for the linking rope trick. Watch closely. 2 pieces of rope, good strong solid rope, no doubt about it. Oh man, the finest. And this one as well. Not only do I use 2 solid pieces of rope, but I use a very solid body as well. No question about that either. Watch closely. The ropes go behind, and I tie a simple overhand knot, just like this. And the idea is to pull the ropes right through the body at the count of 3. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Hop! Ropes through the body. Now this is another version of the grandmother's necklace, but like the original Rice's handling, there is no advanced preparation. You do the setup right in front of the audience. You show rope number 1, very strong, very solid. You fold it in half and hold it in your right hand, like this. You show the second rope the exact same way, nice and strong and solid. You hold it in the left hand, then you place it over the right hand, like that. So remember, you're clipping the middle of the rope between the first and second finger. The other rope is on the back of the hand like that, close to the thumb. Now you show the body, very solid. And when you transfer the rope now from the right hand to the left hand, you do this secret move. Remember, here's the secret move. You clip the rope, grab it here, let this rope fall off the right hand, and you fold the loop like that. Okay? Now let me do this again from the front at regular speed. There's rope number 1, rope number 2. The body is solid. When you transfer the rope, you just do this, and you're done. So now you've got that secret loop. You put this behind your back, press the secret loop against your back. Be very careful. Don't pull too tightly, otherwise that will happen. That's not good. So you have to be very gentle. You do the secret loop, you put it behind your back, you press the loop against your back. That's important. That will help it hold its shape. Now you tie the knot, you pull after tying the knot, and you get the penetration right through the body. That is ropes through the body, and everything can be examined. Here's a rope trick made famous by Harry Keller. In fact, it has his name, the Keller rope tie. It uses just nothing more than one solid piece of rope. Would you please examine that for me? Make sure it's real, it's solid.
Sounds good.
That's right. Tie a knot in it, if you will, please. Just a regular old knot. I'll put my wrist right through and pull very, very tightly. Show me no mercy. That's good. All right. Drop the ends. Definitely a solid knot. Now, if you'll take the ends and tie another knot on top, please. In fact, to make it extra tough, if you'll tie 2 knots, a nice solid double knot. Oh, man. Yikes. You're not messing around. That's good, okay? Oh, here, stand pretty close, like this. And you can go in and out very quickly, nice and solid. Okay, and then my tie straight. Yeah, that's good. And I'll come back like this. Really, tell everybody, is that the same double knot?
Yes, it is.
And is it nice and tight?
Yes, it is.
That's good. Well, I thank you very much for your kind attention. Ladies and gentlemen, the world-famous Keller rope trick for your entertainment gratification. And thank you for your kind assistance. Here's the explanation for the Keller rope tie. It's actually very simple. All you do is you have a regular overhand knot. In fact, you can allow the spectator to tie the knot. Would you hold that for just a moment? Your hand, your wrist, your left wrist goes right through the knot and pull tightly, please. And you can actually pull it as tightly as you'd like. Really? All right, good job. Ooh, that's good. Let the ends drop. That's excellent. Now, this is the first thing you have to do is have the overhand knot on top, the ends pointing downward. When the hands go behind the back to allow the spectator to tie the second knot, this is what you do. Excuse me. Behind the back, you grab this end and pull it up. Okay? The wrist goes behind like this. You drop this on top of the wrist, and you're in this position. And now would you please tie a double knot? And once again, this could be tied very tightly. That's good. And you can tie as many knots as you like, 2 or 3, it doesn't make any difference, because all you have to do is go like this and pull the wrist out. And now you can do some mumbo jumbo over here. Stick your hand back inside like this, give a little twist, and apparently you're tied up again. So there's lots of little bits of business you can do. You say, I'm nice and tight. Right, good, okay, come right over here, very nice, right over here. La 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 la. Put your hand back inside, give a little twist. You're securely tied. When you're finally ready to do the escape, you just once again pull your hand out. You pull on this, and that comes out, and that is the Keller rope tie. And thanks for your help. I could not have done it without you.
Thank you.
Let me give you a closer view on exactly how to extract the hand. You're in this position, securely tied. All you have to do is move your hands away from your back, point them downward like this, and this hand can come out. You do whatever you'd like to do, tap the spectator on the shoulder, adjust your glasses, scratch your chin, little bunny ears. You're limited only by your imagination. To go back in, you dive into that loop and twist. And then you turn around and let the spectator examine the knots, make sure that you're still securely tied. Once again, you just point your fingers downward, pull out, do whatever you want to do, go back inside, and twist. And you're once again securely bound. And that is the real work on the Keller rope tie. Okay, this is a very interesting version of the spirit tie. Would you mind helping me once again, please?
Absolutely.
If you'll bind my wrist.
Okay.
You can tie as many knots as you'd like, as tightly as you wish. It's entirely up to you. That's good. That's even better. That's good. And another knot or two on top. That's great. You got it. That's good. And if you'll do the same thing on this wrist. And like before, these knots could be sealed with sealing wax. You can wrap them with tape. You can even have them signed if you wish, just to make sure that the magician does not disturb the actual knots that the spectator ties. That's good. So both are tied. Mm-hmm. And one more thing, if you'll just grab the ropes and tie them behind my back, please.
Behind your back.
Yeah, and make it nice and tight, making an impromptu straitjacket.
In a knot.
Yeah, in fact, a double knot or even a triple knot. Ooh, good job. Is that it?
No, one more.
Oh, one more. Oh, take no chances. That's good. Okay, now at this point, it's almost like a straitjacket. There's nothing much that I can do. This is a spirit tie, and so the magician or the spirit medium would be sitting down in a chair, and under cover of darkness, either you turn off the lights, or they put a screen in front. You have total control. You can actually do things with your hands. You can take spoons and put them in a glass. You can drink some water. You can throw things over the thing, and then when you come back, it looks like you're still very, very securely bound, and this is the method for the spirit tie. It's actually quite simple. What happens is this. The wrists are tied individually, just like you did at the very beginning. Then, when crossing the hands, that's when you do the secret move. And this is all there is to it. Hey, that was a good knot, by the way. Good triple knot. So you're like this. The audience believes that you're holding one rope in each hand, and you simply cross your hands like this. Now, if the hands were tied like this, I couldn't get out. That would be like a straitjacket. But what you really do is you secretly grab the rope from here. You're grabbing the opposite ropes. So my right hand is grabbing the rope under the left wrist. The left hand is grabbing the rope under the right wrist. And when you do this together, it looks like this. Now, don't let the audience see that. That you hide with your hands or with your arms. So you're here. You grab the rope on the opposite hand. You keep your arms tightly together so that the audience doesn't know that you've done the switch. And then after they tie it behind your back, you have freedom of your arms. And this is a very simple version of doing the spirit rope tie. Thanks for your help once again.
Thank you.
Any questions? Send them in. Here's a lovely little mystery called the Perplexo cut and restored rope. A piece of rope, just about like, go say, this long. Take the middle, cut. That looks very convincing, or is it just me? You can trim the ends. It's got to be just right. Oh, no, even better. There we go. And by bringing the ends like this to the middle, a little blow, hop. Isn't that perplexing? That's it, the Perplexo cut and restored rope. This is a very simple thing to do. There is a little bit of advanced preparation. All you do is you take, oh, say about that much of the rope, cut a little piece like this, and you hide it in your hand. So all you have to do is just hide it in your hand. You don't have to thumb palm it, nothing fancy. Just hide it in your hand. Now, it's okay because your hand is also going to be holding the rope. So it's okay if it's in a slightly unnatural position because you hold the rope like this. So it's a nice, strong, solid piece of rope. Oh, here's another little tip. When you hide the rope in your hand, make sure that the middle of the secret little piece is on top. That's good, important. Don't do it this way. It won't work. So the middle of the little piece is on the top. That's hidden in your hand. And now you show the rope. All you do is you fold the rope in half, show the middle in your right hand. This is still hidden, remember. And in bringing it up, this is what you do. The audience is over there. You show the middle of the rope. You just put your finger on top. You open your left hand, put them together, pinch the top of the folded little piece between the first finger and the second finger, and pull that piece up. And this is done very, very quickly. So it looks like you just took the middle of the rope, put it in the other hand, you cut. Of course, now you're just cutting through the little secret piece. And here's another little tip. You want to get rid of these two pieces, so here's a fun way to do it. Just pretend to cut them, but what you really do is this. The little finger clips the rope, like that. So when you cut, you just fake it. You pretend to cut, and you let those ends drop. So that's how to get rid of the two little pieces. You fake like you cut, take the ends, put them in your hand, a little blow, and you open it up. and you have the Perplexo cut and restored rope. Here's a little variation on the Perplexo rope cut. Nothing hidden in the hands this time, but it looks exactly the same as before. You take the middle of the rope about like this, you cut it with the scissors. It's very similar to the other version, except, of course, you don't happen to have that little piece hidden. You do a little bit of magic, a little blow, and you have a perplexing rope cut without the perplexing rope gimmick. What you do instead is you use another gimmick, our old friend, the thumb tip. So the preparation is the same as the Perplexo rope cut. You have a small piece of rope folded in half and hidden inside of the thumb tip, like this, okay? Your thumb goes in. Now you have to put your thumb in of the right hand so that when you pull your thumb out, that little piece will come out as well. Okay, so that's the secret preparation. Now your hands can be shown apparently completely empty. You show the rope, you find the middle of the rope, and in the act of putting the middle of the rope in your left hand, you put your thumb tip in your left hand as well. The thumb comes out, that pulls out the little piece, so now you're in the same position as you were a moment ago with the Perplexo rope cut. When you take the scissors and cut right through, you can fake cutting, get rid of those two ends, and here's a little tip to get rid of the thumb tip. You stick your thumb in from the back as you do a little massage action or a little wave, and now you have your restoration. So that's a nice little variation of the Perplexo rope cut. This is the classic handling for the cut and restored rope. Ordinary pair of scissors, ordinary piece of rope. All you do is you put the two ends on one side, you get about halfway down, that's about the middle. If I cut the rope right in the middle, in theory, I should have two pieces about the same length. Close enough. Anyway, the idea is to restore the two pieces. I will tie the ends together with a double knot. That's a single knot, there's the double knot. That's pretty good, but there's more. All I have to do is reach like this, wrap it up, take a little magic dust from under here, sprinkle it on, a little blow, and we have the classic cut and restored rope. Now there are many, many ways to perform this mystery. I'm going to go through just a few. The first is the most basic handling of all. You take the two ends like this, and you hold them pretty much in a thumb palm position in the left hand. Your right hand reaches down to the middle of the rope. Now here's a very simple way to do this. You put your first finger and thumb inside like this. When you come up, apparently just to bring the middle up to the fingertips of the left hand, what you really do is you take the first finger and thumb, you pinch a piece of the rope like that near one end, and you bring that up. And that's what you cut through. So when you cut here, it looks like you're cutting the middle of the rope. Actually, you're cutting a piece very near one end. So after the cut, you let these ends drop. From the front view, it should look exactly as if you have two pieces of rope. Now, there are many ways to tie these together. One thing to do is to tie just a very loose overhand knot. Now, it should be pretty loose. Then you tie a second overhand knot on top. It doesn't matter if you end up with a granny knot or a square knot. The point is the first one was loose. That means that this knot will slide off very, very easily. Now, you can have the knot like this. You loop the rope into your left hand. When you do that, once you come in contact with the knot, you just hold it and you slide it. It's actually, you're sliding it right off the rope. Then you reach into your pocket for some magic dust, leave the knot behind, and now you have the classic restoration. This is the magician's cut and restored rope. All you do is you just make a little loop like this. You find about the midpoint. That would be about that far down. Little snip. And, ooh, pretty close. Closer than usual. All I have to do now is give it an extra little snip like this. I'll trim the ends, make them nice and neat. Yeah, that should be about right. And if I take the ends, place them inside, a little blow, there you have it. The magician's cut and restored rope. Now, this is a very easy way to do this trick. All you do is your right hand crosses the left hand, like this. Your thumb holds where they cross. You grab the left end that's pointing up. That's the one that you pull downward, like this. You keep pulling down. Anytime you want to stop, you just bring up this loop, and that's the loop that you cut through. Just like that. Okay? Now you can get rid of this little piece in any one of a number of ways. A real simple way is just to trim and pull the piece out, trim again, and now you've gotten rid of the little piece. So you just do a little massaging action and you have your restoration. So this is one version of doing the magician's cut and restored rope. This is the oldest version of the cut and restored rope. It's called Cut and Restored Rope from 1584. This was published in the book Discovery of Witchcraft. What you do is you take the rope, you tie the ends together with a square knot that makes a perfect circle of rope, a good loop. You can actually hand the scissors to a volunteer from the audience, and this volunteer will actually get to cut right through both pieces. In fact, you say, cut on one side of the knot, cut on the other side of the knot. The piece actually falls to the floor, leaving you with two pieces like this. All you have to do is a little blow like that, hop, and you have an instant restoration. You can toss that out for examination. Now, this is a very easy way to do it. All you do is you tie the ends together with a square knot, like this. So you haven't cheated yet. Make sure that the knot is, from your point of view, a little bit left of center. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to double the rope over, but you're going to give it a complete twist first before you double it over. That way, you will be in this position here. You see how that is looped through? Okay, so I'll do it in slow motion. There's the knot a little bit left of center. The right hand gives the rope a complete twist before it brings up the end and holds it in the left hand. Then you hand the scissors to the volunteer from the audience. When you come back, your right hand does this, and you hide the fact that the ropes are crossed here. You hide it with the fingers. The spectator then actually cuts through both pieces of rope on both sides of the knot. Once here, once down there. And what that does is it leaves you with a very small piece like this. Now, if you hide it with your fingers where they join, it looks like you've got two separate pieces of rope. There are many ways of getting rid of that little piece. Once again, a very simple way is just to cut and get rid of them that way. Now you can do your restoration, and you hand out the rope for examination. So this is the method that was explained in 1584. When you reach this position, when doing the cut and restored rope, where the audience believes you have two pieces of rope about the same length, when actually you have one long piece and one short piece, there are several ways to go, several different types of knots that you can tie. Let me go through a few of them right now. This first one is called the sliding knot. Just to make it easier to follow, I'll use a red piece like that. So the audience believes you have two pieces of rope the same length. What you're going to do is tie them together. You tie a simple overhand knot. Then you, pretty loose, then you tie a second overhand knot on top, like this. This is a sliding knot. Now you can do one of a few things. You can either just slide the knot off the rope and toss it into the audience. That works. Another thing you can do is, after you tie the sliding knot, is you can secretly hide the knot in your hand. So it looks like the two ends are tied together. You hold the rope in your left hand. With your right hand, you coil the rope into your left hand. When you get to the knot, you just keep it hidden in your hand, and you slide it all the way off the other end. So now it's hidden in your hand. You reach into your pocket for the magic dust, magic wand, or whatever, a magic cigarette lighter. You do your magic, and you show the rope is restored. So this is the sliding knot. It's simply an overhand knot with a second overhand knot on top, and then you slide the piece right off the end. Okay? That is the sliding knot. Here's an extra little touch you might want to use on the sliding knot. Once the audience thinks you have the two pieces of rope, you tie the knot. You say it's very, very important that the knot is in exactly the middle. And of course you say, there, that's about the middle, isn't it? Wouldn't you say? You hold it up, and of course someone's going to yell out, no, no, it's too high. Say, oh, excuse me, you're absolutely right. Here, let me slide it down a little bit like that. No, 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 it's too low. Say, oh, good point. Well, how about if I put it over here? In fact, if you'd like, you can take the knot, slide it off completely, toss it into the audience, and that's a nice little touch you might want to use when you use the sliding knot for the cut and restored rope. Here's another knot you might wish to use when you do the cut and restored rope. You have two pieces approximately the same length, pretty close. You tie this knot. This is a good knot because it's very quick and easy, and this is an interesting way to do the restoration. You say, all I have to do is bring the ends up like this, a little blow in the middle, and it's instantly restored. Now what this is it's a slip knot using the extra little piece right through the loop. I'll demonstrate once again with a different colored piece. The audience believes you have two pieces approximately the same length. Actually, in this case, one length is a little bit shorter than the other, and it's the short length that you use. Here's what you do. You've got this. You take the shorter length, you make a loop going away from you toward the audience, and you loop it over both ends of the little piece. And when you pull, basically all you're doing is you're tying a slip knot. You see what's happening? You're tying a slip knot, basically, around the little piece. So the little piece is still through here, and you just tied a quick slip knot. Now, from the front, it looks like that. Now, if you take the short end here and one end of the little piece, then you take the long end, that goes here and here. All you have to do is blow, and when you pull, you let go here, you pull the short piece out from the slip knot, and that leaves the slip knot there, and the slip knot dissolves. So, once again, at regular speed, you've got this. You say 2 pieces of rope approximately the same length. You take the shorter piece, you make just a quick little loop like this, and it looks like you've tied the ropes together. Now you say, I'll take one end like this, one end like this, a little shake, a little blow, and you have an instant restoration. That is the slip knot for the cut and restored rope. Here's an interesting thing called a novel knot steal. Once again, you've just done the cut in the cut and restored rope. You've got apparently 2 pieces the same length, and you tie them together with a very interesting knot. You get 2 volunteers from the audience to come up and assist. That's a good thing. And you say, well, I'll tie a double knot. In fact, if you're lucky and if there's enough rope, you can do a triple knot. I don't quite have enough, but that's close enough. So there's the knot. You say, I'll tell you what, would you do me a small favor? You hold on to one end like this, and would you hold on to this end like that? The volunteers are holding the ropes. All you do is you take your hand, you cover it up like this, you reach down, get some magic dust, and you have a restoration just like that. Now this is basically a pop-off knot, which I'll explain in just a moment. But first, I'll use the other color like this. Here's how to tie the knot. You reach underneath the long piece of rope, and you grab one end of the short piece, bring it towards yourself. So you're actually completely unlooping it. You're taking it out, and you're going to tie an overhand knot over a small bite of the rope. You see that? So you tie a simple overhand knot over a small bite. Then you tie a second, and if you're lucky, a third knot on top of that. Okay? You tie as many as you can and use up as much of the rope as possible. That's important. You don't really want to have these ends hanging down. So try to use up the entire small piece. Oh, that's much better. Now, if I was to pull on this rope, that knot would actually fall off. But you don't really do that right in front of the audience. What you do is you hide this knot. You say, you hold on to one end, and you hold on to the other end, so you have 2 volunteers holding on to the ends of the rope. You cover the knot with your right hand, and when you cover it, you secretly pull on the rope. So that takes the knot off. Now you say, all I have to do is get a little magic dust. Oh wait, it's in my other pocket. You pretend to hide the knot with your left hand now. Your right hand steals the knot away, reaches into your pocket, takes out some magic dust, and you have a restoration. So the knot completely disappears. Now this is the novel knot steal, which is very similar to the pop-off knot. You might prefer the pop-off knot because it's funny, it looks very visual, and there is no palming whatsoever. And the knot is tied in exactly the same way. Once again, the audience believes that you have 2 pieces of rope about the same length. Just like the novel knot steal, this is how you tie the pop-off knot. You reach underneath, you grab one end of the small piece, pull it out, and you tie an overhand knot around a little bite, a little piece of the long rope. You tie a second knot on top of that, and there it is. So it looks like just a regular double knot, but actually it's been tied over a little bite of the long piece. When you blow, you just pull on the long piece and the knot will come right off. Now that's a real effective way to do the cut and restored rope. In fact, let me show you what this looks like at regular speed. Just pretend you cut the rope in the middle. The audience thinks that you have 2 pieces that are exactly the same length, but now we know better. We have a small piece looped around the long piece. So it looks like 2 pieces the same length. Watch closely. You say, all I'm going to do is tie a knot like this. In fact, to make it extra secure, I'll tie a double knot like that. And if you blow, the knot comes right off. That is the pop-off knot. Here's a nice little addition you may wish to add to your own personal cut and restored rope routine. It starts off in the standard way. You say, oh, about halfway down, we'll cut the rope. It is very important, however, that both lengths are exactly the same. Whoops. needs work. Actually, this is a good thing to do for a volunteer from the audience. You give the scissors to a young boy or a young girl and you say, cut the rope, but make sure you cut it exactly in half. That way both lengths will be exactly the same. And of course, doesn't quite work out that way. So you say, well, here, take the scissors and trim the rope so that way they'll both be exactly the same. They do that and you say, yeah, that looks about right, about even here and about, oops. No, perhaps you didn't understand. I need you to cut so that both pieces are exactly the same length, and as you can see, one's just a little bit longer than the other. So you give the scissors back to the little boy or the little girl. They cut through again. You say, oh, that looks pretty good down there. It looks pretty good up here. Yeah, that's about right. Oh, no, wait a minute. Actually, we still seem to be... I'll tell you what, here's a good idea. Why don't you cut through both pieces? That way you know they're exactly the same length. So the spectator, the little boy, the little girl cuts through again. You say, well, they're even up here. They're even... This can go on and on and on, and sometimes it does. Then finally, in frustration, you just give a little like this, and you have yourself a quick restoration, and that brings this mystery to its dramatic conclusion. Now what this is secretly, remember, you have the short piece looped over the long piece. And as long as you pull on one, the other end is going to go up. If you pull one down, the other end goes up. So when you first do the cut, or you have the spectator do the cut, they're close, but not exactly right. So you say, well, why don't you just cut through? That way both will be exactly the same. As soon as they do that, you say, well, they look pretty close up here. When you say they look pretty close down there, you just grab one of them secretly, pull down, and you say, oh, wait, no. We seem to be off a little bit. So cut through that again. They can cut through that again. You say, well, they look pretty good down there. They look pretty good up here, but oops. And anyway, that's all you do. You just secretly pull one end down, the other end goes up, and you can do this over and over again. Finally, when you want to do the restoration, you don't even have to tie a knot. You just take one end of the long piece, like this, grab one end of the short piece, blow, throw everything down, and now you have one piece of rope. So that's the comedy cut and restored rope. This is known as the hitch knot or the lark's head knot. Some people call it the double hitch knot or the half hitch knot. It's all basically the same, just different names. Lots of ways to do this. Let me show you the easiest way first. All you do is you take the middle of a piece of rope, place it through a ring, keep the middle in full view like this, take the ends, and very slowly and fairly place the ends right through the middle like this. And as you pull, that forms the hitch knot. Now, there are other ways to tie the hitch knot. Let me show you a couple more. Here's a fun way. You hold the ring like this in the left hand, the rope here. It goes through from the audience's side towards you like this. As it goes through, your left hand twists the ring clockwise, one revolution. You pull the rope till it's about halfway down. You go through again from your side like this towards yourself and down. So that makes the hitch knot. Now, the hitch knot is a very handy knot. What you could do is you can have the ends held by the spectator while you've got the hitch knot here, under cover of a handkerchief or under cover of the table, a little manipulation, and the knot and the ring come free. Now, this is very simple to do. What happens is simply this. There's the hitch knot. All you do is you hold it so that the one part of the knot that goes across, you open it up, you bring it up to the top, around, and through. So, here's another way to tie the hitch knot. Once you've got the hitch knot on the ring like this, here's a very subtle way to get it off. You show that it's securely tied. This time you have the cross piece, the piece that goes across, on the bottom. You open it up a little bit just to show how well it's tied. And just by pulling, believe it or not, that hitch knot is now off. Give a little pull, and it comes right through. Now, there's a very subtle handling. All that happens is this. You've got the cross piece, remember, on the bottom. That's underneath. You open it up with your fingers just to show that it's going through, and you pull. Now, on the third pull, you loosen it up just a little bit. The right hand pivots the ring around. And right now, technically, it is off the knot. So when it's pivoted this way, it's on. That's the hitch knot. When you pivot it the other way, up and around, and pull, now it's off. But still, with your left fingers, hold the rope together so it looks like it's still tied. And now you can do a little penetration like this. That is the hitch knot. Now, this is known as the wholesale ring removal. You just get a nice long piece of rope. You take one ring, thread it through like this, and with a hitch knot, you secure it. All right. definitely secure. Now I'll place, so 3, 4, 5, or 6 rings, doesn't make any difference how many you use. In fact, some people claim the more you use, the better. So all of the rings are secured onto the rope, and you can allow the spectators to hold onto the ends, and this goes either underneath the table or under a handkerchief. And with a little bit of manipulation like this, almost as if by magic, it's penetrating through. Yes, there's one. There's a couple more. And this one's there, and one more over here. And everything can be examined. Now all this is, of course, is the hitch knot for the first ring. And once you get the first ring off, of course, the rest will just fall off all by themselves. So here's the hitch knot once again. You put the middle through the ring, the ends of the rope go through the middle like this, and you pull. There's the hitch knot. Now once that's done, you can thread in as many as you'd like. And of course they won't fall off because of the first ring that's got on the hitch knot. And now you can hand these ends to the spectator. You can do this under a handkerchief. All you have to do is remove one ring like this, and of course all the other rings will very easily follow. So this is called the wholesale ring removal. Here's a little touch that you might want to add to the wholesale ring removal. The black ring is on, remember, with the hitch knot. All the red rings, of course, go on like this, and they're held in place with the black ring. Then under cover of the handkerchief, you can remove all of the rings, but here's a nice little subtlety. If you'd like, let the spectators hold on to the end of the rope. Under cover of the handkerchief, you remove the black ring, but you leave it underneath the handkerchief. And in front of the spectators, you remove 1 or 2 at a time all of the red rings, and as a super sacco surprise finish, before you remove the last red ring, you retie this one with the hitch knot, remove the last red ring. When the handkerchief is removed, they will be very puzzled because they'll see that the black ring is still attached to the rope. Then as an extra added little bonus, right in front of the audience, you say, well, I guess I could remove that. To do this, I need a little help, a little snap, a little rub, and that comes off as well. So that's just a nice little subtlety you might want to add to your routine with the wholesale ring removal. This is the visible melt-off. A lovely harness ring, a lovely piece of rope, and you tie the knot. Look at that, looped through once, twice, why, even thrice. Look at that. All I have to do is give a little rub like this, and almost as if by magic, visibly, it melts right off. Now basically all this is it's the hitch knot, but it's tied vertically. So you start by putting one end through towards yourself, around, and towards yourself again. Now here's an important point. You make the first loop towards yourself, around the top of the ring, then towards yourself again. When it goes through the ring the second time, it has to go through, from your point of view, to the right of the upper loop, like this. That is what you need, because that's basically the hitch knot. It's just that it's been opened up like this, okay? Now from the audience's point of view, it looks like that. All you have to do is grab the end of the ring, and that would be the end away from the knots. You see how they're looped at the top and the bottom? You grab this side, and if you move it up and down, the hitch knot will dissolve and the ring comes free. So that's called the visible melt off. This is JB's undisturbed knot, sometimes known as the Chinese laundryman. It goes by several names. Here's what you do. You take the middle of the rope, make a lovely little double loop, and the end of the handkerchief goes right through. Perfect. And now to secure the handkerchief onto the double loop, I will tie a square knot. So there you have it, a square knot onto a double loop of rope. Now what I'll do is I'll step on one end of the rope like this, slide this about to here. The idea is a little snap, a little magic, a little rub, and it penetrates right through. Now this is the hitch knot, disguised a little bit. You can use, instead of a ring, like a harness ring or a bracelet, you can use a ring made out of a silk handkerchief or a borrowed pocket handkerchief. All you do is this. You start with the middle of the rope, fold it back towards yourself, that makes the loop, and you form it into the hitch knot, so that's a double loop, okay? Now all you do is you take the corner of the handkerchief, push it through until about it's halfway through like this. And now you tie a square knot on top. Now this doesn't have to be a square knot, you can tie a granny knot, it doesn't really matter, as long as you form a loop with the handkerchief. Okay, so you've got the loop, handkerchief, the hitch knot on the rope. Now here's an interesting thing. If you pull on the rope taut, what that does is it sort of upsets the hitch knot and it transfers it to the handkerchief. So now the rope is straight, but the handkerchief has a hitch knot in it. Kind of a weird thing. If you step on one end of the rope, you can ride this up or down, and when you're ready to do the penetration, all you do is you grab the cross section, or the part that's going across on the hitch knot on the handkerchief. That's what you pinch. And if you pull by moving up and down, all you're doing is you're opening it up and it comes right through. But you do it while you're moving up and down, and it gives a very nice visual penetration. So that's the JB's undisturbed knot, or the Chinese laundryman. This is known as the pull-through, or some people call it the rope through wrist. You just take a piece of rope, tie a knot on top, making a lovely little circle, and it goes over the top of the wrist. Now you just make a double loop like this, and it pulls right through. I'll do that again. There's the knot on top, you make a double loop, and it pulls right through. Now sometimes you can do this a little bit tighter. You can start like this, make the loop like that, and when it pulls through, you can make almost a slip knot. I'll show you what I mean. The knot goes on top of the wrist. You grab, from your point of view, the back strand. It comes around the top and a twist over the wrist. Now what that is, that's basically the hitch knot around your wrist. And you can grab either one of these two strands. It doesn't matter which one you grab. When you pull, that's forming a loop like a slip knot. And if you're lucky, you can get it pretty tight before the actual penetration. And then it passes right through. This is a nice thing. You do this, you can have somebody shake your hand or hold onto your hand to make sure that you don't cheat. And while they're holding your hand, the rope melts right through. So it's really nothing more than a hitch knot over the wrist, and that's called the visible melt through, or the pull through, or the rope through the wrist. This mystery is known as rope through spectator's finger. It's very easy to do, and I'm speaking from experience. I just learned it myself about 2 minutes ago. To do this, you need a piece of rope and a spectator's finger. May I borrow your finger, please?
Sure.
If you'll put it out like this, point it. Oh, terrific. Watch very closely. All you do is make a loop, put it around your finger. Now, there's no question about it. That is around your finger. Yes? Keep your finger nice and straight. On the count of 3, I'm going to pull this rope right through. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Hop! Ladies and gentlemen, rope through spectator's finger. Now, it's very important you do this right. If you do it the wrong way, you can actually cause physical damage to the spectator. That's not what we're going for here today. Make the loop like this. From your point of view, you make the loop towards yourself. Okay? You must come in towards yourself with your right hand, make the loop, and hold where it crosses with your left fingers. Put your finger out, please. And this is also important. When you put it on the spectator's finger, it is like this. Okay? You have the forward part of the rope toward the fingertip, the back part toward the spectator's wrist, on one side and on the other side of the first joint. And what happens in slow motion is you pull, and very slowly the spectator's finger will bend, the loop comes around, and it gives the illusion of the penetration right through. Now let me do this again. It's very important that you make the loop in the proper way. I won't pull it tightly, but if you make the loop the wrong way, you can actually break the spectator's finger. So I just thought I would tell you in advance, do not do it the wrong way. You must hold the rope like this, make the loop with your right hand toward your body, hold where it crosses, put it on top of the spectator's finger, and it must look exactly like this. A little bit closer to the tip is good, and on the count of 3, hold your finger straight and you'll actually see it penetrate through. 1, 2, 3, hop! A very visual penetration. And I thank you once again for your kind assistance.
Thank you.
I think it's very important that I re-stress this point. Put your finger out again, please. When you make the loop, of course, once again, you make the loop towards yourself. It goes on top of the spectator's finger. And when you pull, remember, a finger can actually bend this way. So the top strand, the part that you're actually going to pull, that goes in the same direction that the finger naturally bends. It will not bend the opposite way. So when you do this, be sure the finger's pointing forward, you make the loop this way, and the hand that does the pulling, that would be the left hand, pulls. This loop goes on the fingertip, right on the fingernail, and when the spectator's finger bends, naturally, that causes the penetration. It will not work the other way. I can't make it any more clear than that. Okay? Okay. This is the rope through the magician's finger as invented by Ray Grismer. Watch closely. Just a piece of rope around the middle finger of the hand. No question about it, that's definitely through. What I'm going to ask you to do is take the rope and pull straight up. The only problem is if you pull straight up now, it's possible that it'll come off the end of my finger. And I don't want you to think that, so let go for just a second. I want you to see it goes on the finger like this. And to make sure that I don't accidentally lift up my hand, you take the rope again. This time I'm going to hold my hand down like that. On the count of 3, please pull straight up. 1, 2, 3. Hoo! And there we have it, a penetration extraordinaire. Now this is actually very easy to do. What you do is you put the ring or the rope on the middle finger like this, and you explain to the spectator that if I was to pull it straight up, chances are I could cheat and my finger would move upward and the rope would come off the end. So to prevent that from happening, what I'm going to do is put it on like this and cover it with the other hand. This is where you do the secret move. You have a little bite of rope like this, but the audience doesn't see that, of course. When you close your left hand into a fist, the middle fingertip goes right into that bite. Okay, so you actually have it like this. Now you can pull here. It looks very fair, very convincing, because the base of the thumb covers that little loop. Then when you hand the rope to the spectator, all you do is you turn your hand down, and when you open your hand up, the middle finger sort of pulls that bite to the top of the hand. Under cover of the other hand, you go like this and you cover it. So the audience doesn't know that, but actually the rope is already off the finger. So on the count of 3, you pull straight up. 1, 2, 3, hop! And it gives a very good impression or illusion of a penetration through the finger. That's Ray Grismer's rope through finger. This is called the square detector, and I've seen it performed before with a loop of chain, but it can just as easily be done with a piece of rope. Would you please point your finger upward? Excellently done. Put the middle over the finger like this, and keep it pointing upward. What I'm going to do is just give a little twist like this, a little touch, and it comes right off. That means you are not a square. That's why they call it the square detector. All you do is you put the loop over the finger. From your view, you take your index finger, put it on the right side of the right strand and cross it over. The thumb goes in here, so you form like a little X that you ride all the way up to the top. Put your fingertip on top of the spectator's fingertip, release with the thumb, and everything will come right off. That is called the square detector. This is the thumb penetration by Joseph Schmidt. You start off by just tying a slip knot, a real slip knot, and the thumb goes through. Now you can explain that no matter how hard you pull, of course it won't go through, but this is a real slip knot. In fact, you can open it up to show. No question about it. The thumb goes right through like this, and to make it extra secure, I'll give it an extra revolution like that, and just by pulling, hop, it actually penetrates right through. Now all this is a slip knot. It's just a regular, ordinary, everyday slip knot. Now your left thumb goes through the slip knot, through the loop, and it also goes through the knot itself. That's important. So not only does it go through the loop of the slip knot, but it goes actually through the knot as well. Now you have one end of the strand on one side of the thumb, the other end on the other side, so that the bulk of the knot is at the bottom of the thumb. Okay? Then you take the left strand, it goes around the thumb like that. Now all this is, it's the slip knot now tied around the thumb, and when you pull, you can have a spectator hold onto your thumb, or you can close it in with the index finger. And when you pull a little harder on this strand, and what that does is that dissolves the slip knot, and you get the penetration. So that's Joseph Schmidt's thumb penetration. This is the rope from hand release. Just an ordinary hand, an ordinary piece of rope. All you do is this. You loop it around the hand like that, and to make it extra secure, I'll even tie a knot. In fact, I'll loop this around this way, this around this way. There is no way that can come through, but watch. A little pull, a little blow, a little massage, and watch. Hop! Right through. Now, it's very important you do this properly, otherwise it won't work. All you do is you make the loop around the hand, like this, and it helps a little bit if the front strand is maybe 5 or 6 inches longer than the back strand. And you take, like this, the front strand goes around the back of the hand, over the top, and it crosses over to the left. It's important that it crosses over to the left, then you hold that with your left thumb. Okay? Now, you cross it over the front strand, it goes underneath and through. So it's basically an overhand knot. Now you take the back strand, it goes around the front of the hand this way. The front strand, which is here, goes over around the top like this, and now you make a fist. So it looks like you've definitely tied a rope several times around your hand, but actually it's just a slip knot inside. So when you pull and you loosen up your grip on the fist inside, until eventually you're in this position, you're just holding a bite here and a bite here, and you can feel that. Now you're ready for one last pull, release pressure with the hand, and you get the penetration right through. That's called the rope from hand release. This is called the master muscle. It was invented by Winston Freer. Nothing in the hands, just one piece of rope. It looks like an ordinary piece of rope, but because of my superhuman strength, at the count of 3, right before your eyes, I will break it in half. 1, 2, 3. Hop! Everything can be examined. Now, this rope has not been chemically treated, but there is a little bit of secret preparation. This is what you do. You need to get a piece of magician's rope that is woven, and you take out the core. That's very important that you remove the core before beginning. So there's the core. It's history. Now you have the outer shell, and the preparation is this. You fold it in half, you get a pair of sharp scissors, and you start to cut like this. Just a little cut, maybe a 1/4 of an inch to start. That's plenty. You don't want to cut through the front. In fact, yeah, that's about right. You don't want to cut all the way through. You just get it started. So there's a little slit. I hope you can see that, a little slit. And you take the tip of the scissors, you put it inside, and you cut maybe 1 inch altogether. Now, if you're very careful, you can close this up, put that underneath so it's on the bottom, and there's nothing to give away the fact that you have prepared the rope. It looks like just a regular piece of rope, but if you pull, the rope will break right at that point, giving you the master muscle principle by Winston Freer. It has just been brought to my attention by one of our cameramen that this Winston Freer master muscle idea would make a very good do-as-I-do bar stunt. What you do is you hand out several pieces of rope to several people in the audience, keeping the prepared piece for yourself, of course, and you say, okay, everyone, do as I do. And at the count of 3, you pull on the rope. Yours breaks, of course, and all these muscle men behind the bar are trying to break it, and of course, they haven't got a chance. So that is a little idea on the muscle man principle. Dr. Sawa from Japan has a very lovely addition to the Winston Freer master muscle principle. He takes a piece of rope, and as I go along the top of the rope like this to the bottom, anytime you'd like, would you call out the word stop, please?
Stop.
Right here? All right, that's exactly where I'll do it. Just a little rub, and with the energy, the power of the mind, the rope will disintegrate at that very point. Watch. Until eventually, it falls free. And once again, everything can be handed out for examination. The preparation is exactly the same as in the original method. What you do is you take a piece of rope that has been woven. It's got to be woven around. That's important. You take out the core, and you discard it. It is not used at all. So now you have a hollow shell, and about 3/4 the way down from one end, say about here, that's where you make the preparation. You fold the rope in half. You start by cutting just a small portion, maybe 1/4 of an inch, a little slit, and then you use the tip of the scissors to enlarge that slit till it's about maybe 1 inch long. Perfect. Now, if that's hidden underneath from the front, it looks like just an ordinary piece of rope, and now you're all ready to go. The timing, it's the same as used in the card force. That's all it is. It's just timing. You start to give your instructions. You say, as I move along the rope, anytime you'd like, call out the word stop. Now, you finish your instructions when you're almost halfway down. So if you do this properly, you say, would you mind helping me out? As I go along from the top to the bottom, just call out the word stop anytime you'd like.
Stop.
And they will say stop when you get right at the right position. A little rub like this. Oh, and even if you're off maybe 1 inch or so, you can move and you say, right there? Okay, watch. Like this. So now you're away from the rope. When you go back, you go exactly where the preparation has been made. You start to massage it very slowly, and that disintegrates the rope until eventually that bottom piece will fall completely off. And like I said before, everything can be handed out for examination, and that is Dr. Sawa's trick. He calls it the supernatural rope.